Hey, what's up? This is Carter, the Power, right here from Saints training camp. I'm about to catch up with NFL analyst Chris Mortensen. Definitely the best football mind out there, in my opinion, right now. Let me get an interview with him right quick, and I'll catch up with y'all later. Okay. So about the collective bargaining agreement.
Right. Well, you know, when the owners opted out of the collective bargaining agreement, I was there. It was in Atlanta. It was the May meetings. It depended on who you were talking to. I mean, I had somebody explain to me. I'm sitting there saying, "Wait a minute, you got TV contracts in place. You know, everybody's selling out their ballparks. What is really the problem?" And I had some financial people explain to me a little bit about some of this was the lower level teams, some of this was the upper level teams. It was almost like they couldn't really solve the revenue sharing issues among themselves, the owners.
Yeah.
So it wasn't necessarily aimed at the union, but then some said it was aimed at the union. That the players were getting too big a piece of the pie, and then of course part of it. And what's interesting about it too is part of it was before the economy really collapsed. So they could. It's easy for them to say economy now, but when they opted out, it wasn't the economy then. And even though some of the junk bond rates or whatever, some of the Jets, Giants, and some teams were building their new stadiums with, that might have affected some of them. But I think all in all, this is...
Keep going, hold on, so I got the audio.
Yep.
All right, we got it.
Good.
Keep going. I'm so sorry about that.
I think all in all, it's interesting because you talk to the union, especially their new executive director, DeMaurice Smith.
Yeah.
You know, the Green Bay Packers are the one publicly held team that you kind of get a good peek at their books. And in a so-called down economy year, you know, they made a $20 million profit, you know. Now they'll say, well, they only cleared $4 million because of certain other things. But it's really, so it's hard for them to justify, from the players' union standpoint, of really a whole lot of give back. So what DeMaurice Smith is saying, if you'll show us more transparency in your financial books, show us why, we'll play ball. I've never seen where owners are ever willing to truly open their books, even though they are saying they'll get to see enough to realize that we have a problem. And maybe it's just small corrections, but there is no question that the owners have a little bit of a mindset of, you know, they beat us this round, we got to beat them the next round. If that's true, we got trouble. Okay. And I've never heard of any players talking about a strike. It's only been behind the scenes owners talking about a possible lockout. Now we still get 2 football seasons.
Yeah.
But that would be 2011, and sometimes it's almost, you know, it's maybe we're foreshadowing trouble too early. But because usually these deals are done when? They're usually done at the last minute. In fact, the last CBA was done beyond the last minute.
Okay, so what do you think, with the new UFL coming out, do you think that's going to affect the NFL business whatsoever?
No, the UFL, and Michael Hughes is their commissioner, and, you know, he's a former NFL executive. He didn't make the UFL to try and succeed as a replacement for the NFL. And actually, there's almost a spirit of cooperation, even though they're not partnership. By that, I'm saying a spirit of respect. Let's don't step on the NFL's toes, you know. Let's be what we're going to be, and that it can actually work in co-op. Because there is no more NFL Europe. There's, you know, Arena League ball. We're still not sure what it is. So, in a way, is it a developmental league, or is it, you know, maybe a chance for guys to get a second chance? We don't know what the UFL is going to be, but I don't see it being as a threat or an alternative or leverage for players, unless I'm surprised.
So, all right, I was hearing John Clayton and Freddie Coleman on ESPN radio the other day. Like, they were like jostling between like what the percentage is that the owners should be getting and players and whatsoever. What do you think is the right percentage of, you know, money being shared? Do you have a certain number whatsoever?
I'll be honest with you. When you actually get into the details of financials, the financials, I'm not smart enough to figure it out.
Okay.
In other words, like, you know, it always, you know, that number of 57.5% to 60% of the players getting the revenue made sense, but it made more sense to the players when it was designated gross revenues. Okay. Now it's all revenues, and then there's so many different little factors that happen that can raise, you know, some of the threshold levels. But that's probably, but within that is a revenue sharing plan that the owners really haven't figured out yet.
Yeah.
And I think that's a core issue, and that's technically not a player issue.
Okay, and well, just curiosity. I mean, my radio director actually wanted me to catch up with someone here. Like, what do you think about like Brett Favre not playing this year in the NFL? Like, I mean, is there any certain thoughts that you have towards the whole situation? Actually, I don't like talking about
Well,
it.
here's my feeling about Brett Favre. I've always said this. I said people want to get very angry with Brett Favre. But listen, you talk to any football player, and they will tell you the toughest thing for most of them is to walk away. And especially great football players. Troy Aikman tried to play with the San Diego Chargers. I mean, we know that Joe Namath went and played with the LA Rams, and Johnny Unitas went and played with the Chargers, and that Jerry Rice went to a couple teams after after the 49ers. So it was like Brett was doing something unique. But the other part of it is there's no Brett Favre story or Brett Favre fatigue if there isn't a team inviting him through the door.
Exactly.
And this was the Vikings inviting him through the door, and it made some sense because they run in his offense. They have a quarterback situation. So, to me, it creates a lot of emotions on both sides. I just think that I know even for me, I get Favre fatigue. I said Ed Werder. I told Ed, hey man, you take Brett for the rest of the summer,
yeah,
whatever.
Exactly.
But to me, he's a great football player, and the league's always better off when you have great football players playing football.
Okay, and if you look at in just a framework of the NFC North right now, you have the Green Bay Packers going into the 3-4 defense and just a whole lot of different things. Do you think the Vikings are just just a quarterback away from making that next step in their franchise?
Well, the Vikings went to the playoffs last year, and Tavares Jackson was making progress, and so I think that they actually can take the next step with Tavares Jackson or with Sage Rosenfels because they got the best defensive front four in football. I mean, look what the Giants did with it when they beat the Patriots. They've got a good offensive, one of the 5 best offensive lines. They got one of the best players in Adrian Peterson, Chester Taylor behind him. They've added an explosive element, Percy Harvin. So I think they're capable of winning this year. I'm not saying they are. They wouldn't be my pick, but I'm not sure they'd be my pick with Brett Favre either. But I think what Brett's biggest fear was, one thing people got to realize, Brett has a lot of pride. Yeah, maybe it's high maintenance right now, but he has a lot of pride. And the other thing is, I think that legacy part of with the Packers, I think it was weighing on him a little bit more this year than it was before.
Exactly. Well, thanks a lot, Chris. I appreciate it. Carter Bryant.